Hello, everyone. My name is Tom Levine, and I work in Cornerstone's commission department. Today, I'll be showing you how to use the application called Mail Merge, which actually makes use of several different office tools in order to send mass mailings. You can do this to send mass mailers to a corporation, newsletters to friends and family, or print labels for your mailers. This is actually especially important during this time of year because everyone's sending holiday mailers and holiday letters. And to be able to do a mail merge and send about 50 different letters all at once is just a really wonderful tool to have. Some things you'll need before you begin this presentation are access to the full Office suite, which include Outlook, Excel, and Word. Those three programs specifically are what you're going to need in order to set up a mail merge. And without further ado, let us begin. You're going to want to start in Outlook and you're going to want to export your contact list. That's for two reasons. One, because if you have a contact list already in Outlook, you can just use that. And two, because it'll make sure you have correct labels for your actual Excel file. So in order to do that, you would go into the Open box under the File tab, select Import, and then this Import Export wizard will pop up. Next, you're going to select Export to a File and click Next. After that, it will give you a list of different types of files it can export. Personally, I use the comma-separated values. You could export in that or Microsoft Excel 97-2003, but I prefer comma-separated values because it tends to format text a little better, which is necessary if you're going to send a mailer. If you use this Microsoft Excel 97-2003, sometimes it doesn't include all of the zeros in what you're doing. So we're going to choose comma-separated values and click Next. After that, you're going to want to select your contact list underneath Example. Well, that's my email address, but whatever your email address says, you're going to click Contacts and then click Next. After that, you're going to choose where to export it. I'm going to choose my desktop for this example, but you could choose a different folder, such as Tech Tuesday, or wherever you want to save it. After that, you click Next and Finish. Normally there will be a little import-export box that pops up, but that's on my other screen, so I'm going to just show you what it exported, which is right here. As you'll notice, because it's a CSV file, it has that text box there with XL in the corner, and that's telling you that it's an Excel CSV data file, and the things are formatted as text with comma-separated values. It actually exports every single field from your contact list, be that Business Street 2, Street 3, cities, state. It also actually includes different fields such as home city, other street, things of that nature, as well as full email address right here and email display name right here. A lot of these fields are fields we don't necessarily need for this merge, and if you leave all of them in, then it'll give you too many options when you go into your Word file. So I would pare this down into something a little more manageable, and I've already actually prepared a file for this. This is my working merge document. As you can see, I left all of the business street, city, state, postal code values in here, as well as the email address, first name, last name, title, department. These are the things that I'm going to be including in my mailer, but if you have any other fields you'd like to include, please go ahead and do so. I also added this line here because I like having a total running of how many mailers I'm going to send, and in addition I also added this amount column here. That's because for my example, I'm actually sending out a commission document, but you could do this with pretty much anything. It could be a different title for a person. It could be just a little piece of personalized information that you wanted to share about them if you're sending out a personal mailer. It could really be anything. The key is to make sure you format your things correctly. I know this is all formatted as general, and because it's a CSV file, it doesn't really matter because it's all saved as text. But if you did choose that other option for your Excel export, you're going to want to make sure that your amount column for the example is formatted as currency. You're going to want to make sure that all of these other sets in here are formatted as text. That's because when you do your import, you want to make sure it doesn't forget any of those zeros. So I'm going to close this document. You'd normally want to save it and make sure it's saved properly, but I already have that saved, so I'm just going to not save. After that, you want to make sure you open up Word and type a little draft of the mail you're going to send. I have this one typed up already in basically a commission document format. As you can see, I have placeholders in red here for the merge fields that I'm planning on inserting. I have the amount column that was in our Excel document. I have a greeting box here because I want to have a little header for my letter. And I actually have address here as well. That's just to show you how you would import a full address if you're trying to send a physical document. For this example, we're going to do email, but you could also do a physical mailer with this as well. Once you have your full document typed up, you would go into mailings to begin the merge. I normally just insert the select recipients, but you would normally actually start by clicking on that Start Mail Merge section and selecting what you're going to send. As I said before, we're going to send an email message, so I'm going to click that, and Word already knows how to format your document. After that, in order to set up your Excel document to merge, you would click Select Recipients and use Existing List. I have mine saved on my desktop underneath of Tech Tuesday, and it's called Working Merge Document. After I did that, as you can see, these boxes that were previously gray are actually now fully colored in. That's because it has information there that we can select from. So I'm going to start by inserting the address merge field. You do that by highlighting your insert, hitting backspace, making sure it's fully deleted. Make sure your cursor is directly where you want to insert your merge field. And then for this one, we're going to insert an address block. So I would select that. It also has over here a format that you're going to want to formulate their name for. I prefer personally to just do the Mr., full name, and suffix columns. Now, as you can see, it already has this populated a bit for me because I was playing around with it. However, normally it would only have that top line because you have not matched your merge fields yet. Go ahead and click on the Match Fields section underneath here to correct problems. And as you can see, I already have a problem right here. So I'm going to fix that. When you click Match Fields, it brings up the Match Fields wizard. And what this does is it gives you all of the titles and all of the different sections for your address here. And it can actually be changed through the drop-down to all of the different columns that we had in our Excel document. The courtesy title is actually title in mine, so I'm going to leave that. But this suffix is a problem. I didn't actually include a suffix column, so I'm going to move it to not matched. And the reason that I had you delete all of those superfluous headers is because if we clicked on this and had all of those, this wizard would just stretch and stretch and stretch. It would go all the way to the bottom, and we want to be able to select everything. Now that everything looks fully matched up for me, I'm going to click Remember this matching set of data for sources on this computer. That's because when I do save this document, if I want it to be saved with my merge fields, I don't want to have to redo this match field section every time. After that, we're going to look at our preview box again, and as you can see, it's formatted fully correctly. That's because in our match field section, I matched everything up to the different sections it had. Then we're going to click OK. And that inserts our first merge field. A merge field will look like this when you first insert it. It will have those two little arrows on either side, and it will have the actual full title of what you called it in this, which is address block here. If you're inserting a custom field, it will actually say what your field said in Excel, but because this is a specified block according to Word, it inserted it as this. We're going to do something a little bit similar for the greeting. We're going to delete greeting and then select greeting line. You can actually change your greeting line format a little bit. You can choose to start with a dear, to, or none, which I'm going to select because this is a business email. You can choose all the different formatting options you had for address to format names. I'm going to choose Mr. Randall as my format because it's first introductory title and then last name. And finally, it gives you a selection of a comma, a semicolon, or none to separate that out. And I'm going to choose a semicolon. This greeting line for invalid recipient names actually is if there is a problem with your Excel document. It'll automatically insert this Dear Sir or Madam, or To Whom It May Concern box. Or you could have none, so if it has an error, it just won't insert anything. I'm going to leave To Whom It May Concern in that box. After that, you see these few arrows here, and that actually allows you to sort through your Excel file and see what names it's going to populate and how it's going to be formatted. I always like to look through the first 10 just to be sure that everything is formatted correctly, and it looks like it is, so I'm going to select OK. And as you can see, now we have a greeting line. This brings me to the final merge field we're going to insert, and for certain letters you might be using this a lot more than the header, the address block, or the greeting line even. So I'm going to delete that, click Insert Merge Field, and select Amount. This inserts the amount field that I had in my Excel document. And if we click Preview Results, then you can see how it merged in. Take note on the amount column that it actually inserted with that $sign. That's because I had that in my Excel document. If I didn't have that in my Excel document and formatted it as a CSV, then it wouldn't insert with that, and I would have to put that in my rough draft rather than my merge field. So looking over it, I see that everything looks about correct, except that this text here needs to be black. So I would highlight everything that needs to be black, go to Home. In my font colors, I would select black, and that should do that for literally every single mailer we're going to send, which I find a little bit useful. If you wanted to rematch your fields at this point, you could click on this Match Fields section here, and it would bring you back to the Match Fields wizard. Or if you wanted to scroll through and double check your mailer, you could use these dialog boxes up here to just change that. Afterwards, we're going to actually finish our merge, and it gives you a few different options. You can edit individual documents. If you find something that's a little bit wrong in one of them, you can do that to edit them. You could also use that to actually send your mailers a little bit more individualized. I would recommend this option, especially if you're using a mass mailer for newsletters to friends and family. You could also print your documents, and that's what you would do if you're trying to print a physical letter. If we had started the merge in letter format, then we would just print the documents off. But in this case, we're actually going to send email messages. If you recall, there was that email field in our original Excel document, and it will use that to send out every single mailer. So I'm going to click Send Email Messages. It gives you this little dialog, and you can send it to email address, and that's the field we had in our Excel document that had the email address. You could add a subject line in, like December Commission Statement, which is what I'm going to add. Or you could actually title that whatever you'd like, especially if you're sending it to friends. You could also change your mail format, but I wouldn't recommend it. HTML is what emails normally send as, but you could also send this letter as an attachment to an email or as a plain text document as an attachment to the email. But we're going to leave this as HTML. Lastly, you want to make sure that all of your send records are selected, or if you just want to send a few, you could actually select a range or the current one you're looking at. Once you click OK, the mail merge begins. As you can see, it starts scrolling through all the different names here and sending each individual document. If we open up our Outlook, then you can see that all of them sent. I used incorrect email addresses because I did not want any of these to send out, but if you had correct ones, then they would have fully sent. If we go into the Sent folder, it actually did send all of them, and mine was the only correct email address, so mine was the only one that didn't bounce back. Now, you might say that you wanted to send a physical mailer and you now need all of these labels for your physical mailers. So I'm going to show you how to do that. You would want to actually start in a blank Word document, and then you would go into Mailers, Start Mail Merge, and select Labels. What this does is it formats your merge for labels. You have different label vendors and different label sheets that you can print on, but I normally select Microsoft 30 per page, 1 inch by 2.63 inch size labels. You can select different providers and different types of documents. You could also print these off on a continuous feed printer if you'd like. However, most people don't use that option. So we're going to select OK. And as you can see in my document, it has all of these labels already set up with all of the different grid lines. However, in most cases, if you're doing this for your first time, it won't populate that. That's because it bases that field off of previous work. If you wanted to enable these, you would go into the Table Tools section, click on Layout, and then click View Grid Lines. We then will go back into our mailer and remerge our Word document, well, our Excel document. Mine was underneath our desktop, Tech Tuesday, Working Merge document. And then as you can see, it populates out all of these next record sections. This actually makes it so that when you click Update Labels, it pushes everything in this first box through and populates differently. But you'll see that in a second. So we're going to insert an address block because these are address labels. And once again, we're going to rematch our fields and change that suffix to not matched. And click OK. And we inserted our address block here. If we click on Preview Results, we can see that it's a little bit too large for the label. So I'm going to highlight that and change the font size. You could also actually go through and change the spacing if you didn't want to change the font size by going into this spacing option here underneath the Home tab. Going back into my labels, I'm going to actually click Update Labels, and this pushes my address block all the way through the label creator. Then, if I select Preview Results, we can see that each individual mailer will now have an individual label when we print. In order to print that out, you would click Finish Merge and Print Documents, and it would then print all to the printer. I hope you found this educational. If you have any questions or comments, or you'd just like any help with this process, go ahead and send me an email at tlevine@crnstone.com. You can also reach out to me by calling into Cornerstone and having our lovely receptionist forward you straight to me. I hope this has been informative, and I hope you have a wonderful day.